Hello everyone and welcome to an episode of the BG Show. I'm here to do one of my favorite videos of the entire year, my top 5 worst movies of 2024. Official spoiler warning, I will be talking about plot points and characters and different things of all 5 of these movies. So just check out the timestamps and kind of navigate for the movies you haven't seen. With that being said, here are my top 5 worst movies of 2024. Coming in at number 5, Trap, made by M. Night Shyamalan, starring Josh Hartnett. I had big hopes for this movie. I thought it looked really, really cool. But it was obvious early on that this movie was essentially a good idea and then just absolutely no script behind it. It seems like M. Night came up with the idea for this movie, which is basically a guy takes his daughter to see a pop singer at a concert. But really the concert is just a trap, like the movie's called, to basically catch him. Because they know the serial killer is going to go. And what kind of unfolds from there. It seemed like a really, really good premise. Like I said, he had this idea in his head, but just had absolutely no idea how to flush it out. I thought the dialogue was incredibly wonky. I thought the worst part of this movie was the end. I thought the ending just got worse and worse and worse. It just got totally unrealistic. It didn't know what it wanted to be. His daughter, who is the singer in this movie, was just able to wiggle her way out of certain situations. He was able to wiggle himself out of certain situations. And obviously, dumb stuff has to happen in this movie, but he just doesn't land the plane. It just seems like the movie starts, it has a good idea, but it doesn't hum, like the Christopher Nolan movies literally has that ringing sound, but just figuratively, the movies never hum with M. Night, it seems like. So, I just was not a fan of this movie at all. I thought Josh Hartnett didn't do a bad job. I mean, he was really good in Oppenheimer. And I thought he kind of is having a career resurgence. He has this Airplane movie coming out in 2025. But this movie just was not really that interesting at all. You kind of were hoping something more interesting would happen. And it just never did. Didn't understand his character motivations. I guess he's just a serial killer. But I just thought the ending was super, super poor. Once she locked herself in that bathroom and he started banging on the door, it just was incredibly wonky to me. So this is my 5th worst movie. Coming in at number 4, Megalopolis. One of the most incoherent movies I've ever seen in my life. It got kind of funny. There were definitely some scenes where we were laughing in the audience watching this. Just such a tough movie to rank, such a tough movie to even talk about. I've never seen a movie like this. It's so hard to tell. Is this like a really, really good movie that I don't understand, that's like above my level? Or is this movie just terrible? And Eileen, it's just terrible. I mean, the performances are all goofy. Everyone doesn't know what kind of movie they're in. Everyone's seemingly in a different... The only person who I really thought knew what kind of movie they're in was Aubrey Plaza. Everyone else was very confused. Considering how expensive the movie was, I thought it looked very weird. It was like CGI. It almost felt like they were trying to do... what's that director's name? His name is... It almost... Wes Anderson. It almost made me seem like they were doing like a satire of a Wes Anderson film, but it wasn't on purpose. It just came out that way. Adam Driver, I mean, he did an okay job. I think he was trying to like hum up his performance and make it very campy, but it didn't really land. The plot of the movie just makes no sense. I mean, he's in charge of, he has a rivalry with the mayor and he has all this technology, but he never actually uses his technology. Like the big moment of the movie is essentially Giancarlo Esposito going on a people mover. I'm not even kidding. That's like the big thing and how he's going to revolutionize the city. And so I can't remember a movie where you just literally do not connect or care about any character. I mean, someone can get shot in the head in this movie and I wouldn't care about their character. Like, there's no world building. There's just no cohesion. There's nothing. It's just a blob of content, of just random content, and you have no idea what's going on. And then just there's so many also famous actors in the movie that also makes it more disorienting, because then someone will come on screen like Jon Voight. You'd be like, oh, it's Jon Voight. Oh, it's Shia LaBeouf. Oh, it's this person. Oh, it's that person. And yeah, it just keeps going and going. It's just totally incoherent. A totally incoherent movie. So number 4, Megalopolis. Coming in at number 3, Rebel Moon, Part 1 and Part 2. Now, really, Part 1 is the one that I want to talk about. It technically came out in 2023, but it was late in December, and then 2024, Part 2 came out. So I'm going to group them together, and that comes in at number 3. And the Snyder fans can get mad, but this movie was so incredibly mediocre, especially Part 1. The fact that he split this movie into 2 parts, The fact that he took every single piece of IP from Star Wars to Marvel to DC to Game of Thrones to like literally everything and just mash them up into one, it just wasn't good. He just doesn't have the writing. His work is just so hollow. Like, it looks cool and he's able to make good action scenes, but that's really all he cares about, is just making stuff look cool. He is just so terrible at creating a way for you to care about characters, to just writing dialogue, emotion, caring about characters. He just seems to never do it. The best part of this was the robot with Anthony Hopkins. But yeah, just I don't understand why Netflix gave him all. Netflix just continues to give him money to make all these just weird movies, like they did not Army of the Dead. Was it Army of the Dead? Maybe, I don't know. The one with the Vegas movie with the zombies. And then I even tried to watch his animated show Twilight to the Gods, and I got through like one episode, and it was just, it's all the same. It's always the same edgy teenager, middle school, gory, trying to be funny, trying to be edgy stuff. It's the only thing he can do. It's just not good. It's not enjoyable to watch for me at all. And yeah, I mean, he just makes things that I think look cool in his head, and they're just not. This character, like I said, the robot, the different people, the woman who has the two things that are clearly supposed to be lightsabers, which were pretty cool. That's all of his movies always are. It's always, oh, this is pretty cool, that's pretty cool, but there's really nothing beyond that. It's just hollow. It's hollow filmmaking. Just not rewatchable. Like I said, some cool scenes, but overall the story isn't that great. The dialogue isn't that great. And I just think an absolute dud of a movie. I think part 2 was better than part 1 because of the action, but overall, just a nothing burger for me. Coming in at number 2, Joker 2, Folie. An absolutely brutal movie. I mean, this movie just has no redeeming qualities. The only reason it's not number 1 is because the number 1 movie, which you'll see, is the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. But clearly a money grab. There's just no story to tell here. They loosely got into Gotham, making Harvey Dent the prosecutor of this movie, but didn't really go into that. I thought the story was awful. I mean, they could have just done the classic Joker story with Harley Quinn, which is she is his therapist, and as she is his therapist, she starts to slowly fall in love with him, and then slowly turns into Harley Quinn. That would have been, although it would have been generic, it would have at least, okay, I kind of got that. You make Lady Gaga Harley Quinn, fine. The plot they had for this movie was so terrible, where she's like a fan, and she breaks into, so just by making her a fan, you already don't care about her, because there's no descent into madness. She already is crazy, which is the entire point of the character. And she's basically a fan that just kind of sneaks into Arkham or Blackgate, and it's just like at Blackgate for no reason. So I thought that was so stupid. I don't know why they didn't just use, like, there are certain characters that have a lot of different storylines. That's like her main storyline. That is the entire character. I don't know why movies always do this and change the storyline. That would have saved the whole movie. But beyond that, they made it a musical, but I can't remember a single song from this movie. Legitimately, if you put a gun to my head, I wouldn't be able to sing you even a tune from one. So the fact that they hired Lady Gaga, made a musical, and then not only was the musical bad, but the story was bad. Everything was bad about this movie. There weren't even like shockingly gory scenes like in the first one where he kills his friend, the fat guy. So, there's talks about Todd Joker intentionally making this movie bad, but I don't think it was on purpose. I just think it was bad. Joaquin Phoenix is doing the same exact performance as the first movie. It's just a way worse movie. But I really hated the Lady Gaga writing, or I should say the Harley Quinn writing. I thought it just made absolutely no sense. It was terrible. So yeah, Joker 2, my number 2 worst movie of 2024. Coming in as my worst movie, not only of 2024, not only as the worst movie of the decade, but possibly the worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life, and that is Madam Web. I knew the second I saw it, this would be taking the number 1 slot. I knew nothing would come close. Just absolutely the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. From every conceivable angle. the villain, the storyline, the plot. Obviously, I knew it wasn't going to be good going in. It was a money grab from Sony, this stupid Sony verse. But we know that already. Like Craven, even Morbius. There's still like, I knew Morbius would be bad, but there was still like it was still coherent. There were scenes. It was whatever. This movie is totally incoherent. The villain is the worst villain easily in comic book history. He's like a shitty version of Spider-Man. The worst ADR voice ever. They ADR'd all of his lines. It doesn't line up at all. It's almost like a fanfic. A fanfic. It's like a student project. There's no drama. There's no stakes. Dakota Johnson does easily the worst acting performance of anyone as the main character in a superhero movie. She has not zero charisma. She has negative charisma. She's actually sucking charisma from other people in the movie, and it still doesn't work. I don't know if she's like being bad on purpose, but I've never seen. She's like just reading lines. It's terrible. It's so bad. They're not even trying in this. They're not even attempting to do a good movie. It makes a bad movie. Like, it makes Craven literally look like an Oscar movie. Like, that's how bad I'm talking about here. Seriously, just I'm trying to think of worst movies that I've seen, and I can't think of any. Just terrible on every level. It's not even funny enough where you can go back and make fun of it because it's just so boring. There's not even superhero fight scenes because she doesn't really have any superhero powers. So essentially, her only offense is to go into a truck or an ambulance and crash the ambulance into the bad guy, which I think she does multiple times. Just terrible. I would say, it's like in the vein of a 90s action movie, but it's worse than that. It's like the plot of a 90s action movie with the special effects of like The Wizard of Oz. Like, it's just so bad. It is just, it's so bad you have to watch it. I think it's like, actually, it should be like an historical film to watch. People talk about Batman and Robin being the worst movie of all time, worst superhero movie. This is so much worse. At least Batman and Robin, you have the Arnold Schwarzenegger comedy, you have some cool scenes, whatever, the Bat credit card. This is terrible. So those are my top 5 worst movies of 2024. Let me know you guys agree, disagree in the comments. Those are just my opinions, so feel free to debate. Thanks guys for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.